this meeting to order. Call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Director Sewell.
Here.
Director Martin.
Here.
Director Grasha.
Here.
Thank you. Vice President Duncan.
Here.
President Wright.
Here. Yes, Steve, heard you.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you. About a 4-second delay.
Is it really?
Okay.
Huh.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So we'll be fine. I won't talk much.
Okay. And if you need anything, just holler. Okay, well, might as well do the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we have Grace Gardner. Is she on the phone?
Yes, she is.
I'm on the phone, yes.
Hi, Grace. Grace has been working with learning everything she can about the local, state, federal level. Is she going to read this?
Yes, Madam President. Did you want me to go over the rules of procedure briefly at the beginning of the meeting? Why don't we do that
Okay,
first?
Grace, let's let John do his thing first, and then we'll have you do yours.
Okay, it's a little bit challenging to hear you all. I'm not sure if we can place the call a little bit closer to everybody.
Okay, Grace, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so we'll just try to talk loud enough for the folks on the phone to hear. What I'm going to do is just go over the rules of procedure that have been adopted by the board, particularly given that we have people attending today on the phone. I think these rules of procedure are going to be particularly important. Some of those rules are as follows. The directors should refrain from responding directly to public comments at meetings of the board. The president of the board presides at all meetings and decides all points of order and procedure during meetings. The president is responsible for the maintenance of order and decorum at all board meetings. No person should be allowed to speak who has not first been recognized by the president. All questions and remarks should be addressed to the president as the presiding officer. No member of the board should speak more than once upon any one subject until every other member of the board wishing to speak on the subject shall have been given the opportunity to speak. No board member shall interfere with the orderly progress of a board meeting. In order to ensure the orderly progress of board meetings, the board president regulates the amount of time to be dedicated to a particular agenda item. So those are some of the rules of procedure that were adopted by the board. And I know my colleague Grace Garner is going to be going over a briefing on some of the federal, state, and local orders and advisories that have been issued in light of the coronavirus. And I think that as we move forward, to the extent that you have meetings with more and more people attending by phone, it's going to be particularly important to follow these rules, because we won't be able to conduct meetings by phone with people speaking over one another. So the board president runs the meeting. She'll recognize people to speak. They'll have their opportunity to speak without being interrupted, and then she'll move on to the next person. So decorum is going to be particularly important moving forward and today. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, so Grace, did you hear that? Can you hear me now, Grace?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, great. We can hear you just fine. So would you please tell us what you know?
Sure. So I think there's a lot of different things that we're hearing, and I'm making sure to follow what the CDC and what our federal, state, and local governments are saying. So the big thing right now is the White House and the president have said to listen and follow direction of your state and local authorities. So I think that's really good. You're having direction from the federal government that says to follow what we're doing locally and on the state level. So what's happening right now is the California Department of Public Health has said that gatherings of 250 or more people should be postponed or canceled. And Riverside County has made that an order. And they do say that there are fines attached to that. There's not any details about that structure for fines but it is something that they want to do and plan to do. Smaller gatherings should have the recommended social distancing of 6 feet. And so even if it's 250 people or less that use that social distancing, if you cannot do that social distancing, then again, the event should be canceled. High-risk individuals are to be limited to no more than 10 people at a time. High risk is anybody over the age of 65 and anyone that has other health issues that would make them more susceptible to the virus. And then just in general, the guidance that we're receiving is to limit gatherings of any kind as much as possible. The more people can stay at home, work from home, the better. It really helps us slow the spread. And we're seeing a lot of different things happening in different counties, and different counties are tending to kind of piggyback off of each other. Right now, Riverside County has not done anything too drastic, but we've had some of our local governments, like the city of Palm Springs, just closed all bars, and that's something that happened in San Francisco as well, and in LA County, Los Angeles County too. So we're also asking that restaurants operate at 50% capacity. So just really it's all about limiting. In terms of state of California, the governor issued an executive order that amended the Brown Act slightly. It waived certain things. So that's why Director Grasha can be on the phone right now, and he doesn't have to allow people into his home or post a notice on the door, which in general would have to be done if somebody was telephonically appearing. But right now, all of that is waived. So if all of you wanted to conduct this meeting telephonically, you're allowed to do that. There still needs to be a space that is open for the public to attend and give public comment, but that does not require any board directors to be there. If public comment can also be opened up via telephone, so I don't think we have anybody today since it was kind of last minute. But if this were to continue into your next board meeting, then you might have some people who would be on the phone giving their public comment. The time limits, everything still applies. They would just be given that courtesy due to the health risk. The other thing to keep in mind today is that since you do have someone on the phone, you do need to be doing a roll call vote.
Okay.
But are there any questions? I know that's kind of a lot of information all at once.
Randy?
I have a question.
Okay, wait a second, Steve. Russ?
No.
Ivan?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Steve. Your question, Steve.
First of all, I have I'm trying to get used to the buttons here. So all 5 of us could conceivably meet telephonically, and the public could appear at the conference room, and they can hear us well there, I guess. Also,
Yes.
I wanted to point out that, okay, go ahead.
No, she said yes.
So, yes, you could theoretically all be telephonically, and the public could be there, or the public could also be on the phone as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Grace. Good job.
You're welcome. All right. If any other questions come up at all, I'm available by email to answer, but I'm going to get off the call for now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so next agenda is employee recognition. Would you tell them all, please, that they are recognized? and sorry, maybe we'll get a chance. Closer? Okay, maybe we'll get a chance to recognize them at a board meeting in the future. There's no milestones this time, but I'll read them out. Mark Vermeer, 19 years, wastewater treatment plant operator 1. That's his second or third position that is going to get taken in this district. Teresa Murray, engineering technician, or Murphy, 12 years. Carol Morin, office specialist 2, 18 years. So we appreciate them and tell them thank you for their service.
Absolutely.
Okay, item public input. I don't see any public here, but Okay, so seeing none, we'll move on to item number 6, Resolution 2020-05, Assessment District Sewer Connection Financial Assistance Fund. We went over this on Thursday. This is an action item. Ivan, do you have any more questions on that particular item? Randy?
Is this similar to years gone by? The same type of-
They make the connection program,
Okay.
and we're just opening up to everybody instead of just for a certain project.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, other than the numbers being different, then it's, I'm familiar with
Same,
it.
you're familiar with it, yes. Russ?
Nothing.
Yes,
Pardon?
there's nothing different except for this will be applied now across the board. It's not specific to an assessment district.
Right,
And
no.
it's worked out very successfully, and it's the identical program to what you approved before.
Steve, how about you? Got a question? This was on our Thursday agenda. We talked about it.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. So I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2020-05.
So move. I'll second it.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Director Sewell?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Grasha?
Yes,
Vice President Duncan?
Yes.
President Wright?
Yes.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, number 7, water supply assessment and water supply verification for the DHS 109 Industrial Park Development. We went through this on Thursday. Steve, Director Grasha, do you have any more questions on that one?
I do not, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, Ivan?
No.
And-
No, thank you. No.
Okay, I don't have any either. So I will entertain a motion. What are we doing? To recommend to accept and approve the water supply assessment and water supply verification for DHS 109 Industrial Park Development.
So move.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Director Sewell?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Grasha?
Yes,
Vice President Duncan?
Yes.
President Wright?
Yes,
Thank you, motion passes.
thank you. Okay, so these other ones that we did on 8, 9, 10, 11, we'll forego. No, they don't need any voting, so I'll go to consent agenda number 12. Anybody like to pull an item off of this?
No, ma'am.
Board members? We're not going into public. We don't have any public.
no.
Okay, no. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please. Roll call vote.
Director Sewell?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Grasha?
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice President Duncan?
Yes.
President Wright?
Here, I mean, yes.
Thank you, motion passes.
Okay, so the number 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. If anybody have anything they would like to talk about or any one of those items, we went through them on Thursday.
Do we have one? Okay, yes, we have.
We do have okay, we're gonna go
want
back up
some-
to 14.
Yeah,
Public
briefly,
affairs.
we're going to announce to you what we've done.
Okay, update on what we've done here for the, to comply with the virus recommendations and mandates, or whatever they are, orders.
Steve, I'm passing out a draft press release. I'll forward it to you via email once the meeting's completed. I didn't realize you were calling in. My apologies. So this here is a draft press release pending, I guess, the board's approval. It just notifies the public of certain operational changes starting today at noon that went into effect. That being following similarly to the City of Desert Hot Springs, we've put staff into 2 groups, and that staff will be rotating weekly between working from the office or in the field versus working from home. So we'll have a half on, half off staff, and this is done, as to isolate staff as recommended by the CDC. In efforts to flatten the curve. As you will see also, the boardroom setup, the chairs are spaced in order to encourage social distancing. As of today as well, we have closed our front lobby. As you see outlined here in the press release, there are still ways that individuals can contact the district if our customers need us. There are about 6 different payment methods instead of coming to the front lobby in order to make sure that your water bill is paid. However, we are ensuring everybody that we're still going to continue to work with our customers, especially those facing any financial hardships, to establish any payment plans or provide any other customer services that they need. Customers can email out to frontoffice@mswd.org or ascott@mswd.org. That being said, MSWD will not be shutting off any customers who are unable to make payment at this time. However, all normal billing practices and fees will still apply. So that just is a brief update and progression since last Thursday, since last we spoke. I'm sure the general manager or any of us can provide any answers or further information if you have any questions.
Okay, we'll start with Russ.
Yeah, it doesn't specifically say that, but you did infer it with the use of the term fees. Would we be waiving late payment fees, or would they still be in effect?
Those would still apply. That's
Okay.
correct.
We can always, depending on the situation, waive those if we want to at the staff level.
Okay.
We do that quite frequently.
Yeah, we're a bedroom community. I think it's a great idea. A lot of people in the hospitality industry probably work or live over here, and to do that, to postpone or whatever, to not have any shut-offs during this emergency time period, I think is a really good idea.
And that does follow in line, sorry to interrupt, with the gas companies or the electricity companies as well. They haven't been they've suspended any shut-offs during this time.
Okay, that's good. Okay, Steve, do you have any comments, questions? Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, how is this going to be publicized? This is a very slippery slope. I don't necessarily oppose it, but I'm afraid that people will take, I don't know, free water for everyone is what we're saying.
No,
Do what?
free water for everybody.
Oh, no. Just that shut-offs will not happen, that's all. They have to pay their bill still, but shut-offs, I mean, eventually, but shut-offs won't happen just for the time period.
I'm sympathetic to it, but it's a slippery slope you're just stepping on right there, but whatever you guys think is okay, but please, go ahead.
Well, this is territory that we've never been in before, so this is a bedroom community, and there's other water districts that are doing the same thing, that have industries like hospitality, where there's a lot of people probably going to be laid off that are doing the same thing.
And to address your first question.
Well, is this something you're going to publicize, or are you just going to have it as a policy so that you don't have to have people coming in the...
Sure. Well, Director Russia, regarding the lobby closure, that has been on our social medias, Facebook and Nextdoor since this morning.
Right.
Yeah, I believe you did see that. And then this press release that I'm referring to, which I will email to you afterwards, once I guess we get the sign off here, I will be sending that to news outlets. I will be updating our webpage, posting this on our website, and similarly I'll also be posting this to our Facebook and Nextdoor websites, just so that way we have a full breadth, so to say, to reach out to everybody.
But
This could go on for a year. Are you prepared to have half your customers taking advantage of it?
Director...
A lot.
Yeah, Director Rashaw has a good point. We discussed it. And and we don't intend to make a big deal about it. We're not putting in the press release. We're just not going to turn these people off.
I understand. That's a slippery slope. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay. And we'll take your comments into consideration, and if we need to make some adjustments, we will.
And I know the city of Palm Springs is putting on a moratorium on evictions, so.
Yeah. You answered one of my questions already about this going on our website and everything else. You may also get a PSA announcement from the Desert Sun with this, hopefully. It would be nice. Are people still able to drop a check in
Yes.
our drop box at the front door?
Yes. So to outline our payment methods, they can go ahead and place their payment in the Dropbox, which is located outside the office entrance. They
Oh, it's
can-
right there.
Oh, it's okay. It's good practice nonetheless for anyone who might watch the video afterwards.
Right.
They can mail it to our office. They can use the Pay Near Me program, which we have with 7-Eleven, CVS, and the Family Dollar stores. They can pay electronically through the bank, or they can use MSWD's e-pay system with our website, so mswd.org, or they can call in to customer service and we can take their payment over the phone.
Perfect, thank you.
Mhm.
That's all I have.
Okay.
No, nothing.
Thank you, Victoria.
My pleasure, thank you.
So, okay, so monthly reports. Does anybody have any monthly reports they want to report on if they didn't get a chance?
That's the next item, Madam President.
Pardon?
Upcoming events and directors reports.
Oh, there you go, I'm sorry. Okay. Upcoming
Yep.
events and directors' reports.
I've got to do mine.
Okay, well, you got it ready? So we'll
Yep,
do
all
that.
set. This may be a little out of order, but I did it kind of in the way it was listed in the agenda, sort of, maybe not.
I don't
On
think
the
we'll know.
13th, I attended the Tribal Water Authority Board of Directors meeting. Nothing to report there. On the 13th also, the Desert Valley Builders membership luncheon. Laura Skibber from Sunline Transit gave a very interesting presentation on their keeping ahead of the technology curve with the Sunline buses, etc. On the 21st, attended the Palm Springs Air Museum fundraiser. A well-attended event, first class, very, very nice event. On the 20th of February, attended the Desert Valley Builders Networking Night. Nothing to report there. On the 25th, the CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau Networking Night at the Ware Estate. On the 26th, attended a homeless community meeting, and I was very much impressed with the plans that local Coachella Valley governments are putting into place to address the homeless issue, because from my experience in dealing with homeless issues in Santa Monica, it has to be a regional approach. One city can't do everything, otherwise it becomes a magnet for all the problems associated with the homeless community, as opposed to something shared by the region. So I'm glad to see that they're moving in that direction. On the 13th, also attended the Public Safety Commission meeting. We got an interesting presentation on the Police Department gang task force. And in Desert Hot Springs, there are 4 local gangs with membership ranging from 100 to 125. On the 4th, attended a city council meeting, and a lot of time was spent, and this kind of surprised me, on a dog breeding ordinance, whether or not to move forward with writing the dog breeding ordinance or not. There was a lot of people in support of establishing, and there were a lot of people against it, so it was a lot of public comments on that. On the 6th of February, I attended the Desert Valley Builders Association Legislative Affairs morning meeting. On the 8th, Colorado River Basin Section, Corbs, Banquet and Awards dinner. You know, we didn't win an award this last time, but you know what? It's really neat because working wastewater is probably not the most glamorous thing for people to be, and it's really nice to see that part of water districts and sanitation districts getting recognition for the really outstanding work they do. So I'm always very glad to be a part of that. Attended probably what was one of the shortest city council meetings on the 18th. And on the 19th, attended the Urban Water Institute. And a number of the presentations were very good. In fact, I think I enjoyed this one more than previous one. But there was one presentation that I wanted to mention, and that was called Filling Buckets with Talents, Time, and Treasure. And it was about the international efforts, part of it dealt with the international efforts to bring clean water to small villages in Africa. And the woman who was there told an interesting little story about, as they were traversing to this village, they came across a little girl who was collecting drinking water from a mud puddle. And they stopped and they gave her some clean water to take back with her. But then she asked a question that I thought was talk about a wow moment. She says, "Is it true in the United States you flush your toilets with drinking water?" And I thought, boy, talk about something that puts things in perspective, and things that we kind of take for granted in this country a lot. That was a very inspirational moment for me. Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have,
Hey, Ivan.
so I just have the one event, Urban Water Institute, 19th through the 21st of February to report. One thing I thought was kind of neat was to see Subeka there, and they had a booth, and really all of their marketing is kind of centered around their pilot program with us. So a lot of their materials had our logo all over it. And then some of the breakouts that stuck out to me, there was one about unleashing innovation in the workplace, and it really had, the key speaker was from Metropolitan Water District, and they did a whole survey of their staff and found that only 2 out of 10 staff members felt they had a voice to help innovate. And so just different things that they're doing to engage staff. And they even came out with a whole website, MWDinnovates.com, where they encourage staff and even citizens to write in and if they have ideas on how to help the water district, and it has all kinds of stories and success stories and things like that. Another was they had a whole session on the wildfires and just kind of things that went wrong, things that went right. And one issue that really stuck out to me was a lot of the residents, when they left their homes, they turned on all their irrigation as they fled, and so the firefighters were kind of hampered by not having enough pressure. And they said a lot of the zones, the firefighters didn't realize there was a higher pressure zone right next to them. And I was wondering, is that something that, it's a different situation here, but how much does our fire department even understand our zones and things like that?
Oh, yeah, that's one of those things that we deal with them fairly consistently, and they do fire protests. I don't know, Dan, you want to comment on that? They provide us with basically the requirements, and then,
Well, I don't know if it's needed. I was just, kind of the biggest thing I got out of it was lack of communication was their biggest downfall. So, like when we had Edison and you out Thursday, it was good to see just different communication between.
Yeah, we communicate quite frequently.
Good afternoon. I can't speak to how much they know about the pressure, but it's AWWA and local fire. The color coding of our fire hydrants speaks to available flow. So I don't know, without digging in deeper into what was discussed there, whether it was a flow or a pressure issue, but they are pretty well involved from a flow capacity perspective. I can dig into it further with operations and report back to the board. I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, go away.
Yes,
The fire hydrants are color coded? I thought they were all just yellow.
They aren't all just yellow. However, there's a color coding typically on the caps on the top of the fire hydrant that goes from 0 to 499, 500 to 999, and so on and so forth, and identifies flow capacity on fire hydrants. Which, without getting down to the weeds, there's connections with sizing and pressure. But again, I would be happy to show some pictures.
What about the reflectors?
Those
We got
are-
reflectors
those
now?
we do, and we
Okay,
have.
all right.
There was just some others identified, but those identify the location of the fire hydrant.
Right.
So, at night.
Well, that's interesting, thank you.
Thank you.
And that's all I have for.
Okay, thank you. Steve, do you have anything to report? Steve, are you still there? Steve?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. I just wanted to say thank you for taking these measures seriously, and
No, I'm talking about
also
what
wanted to inform you.
Okay, no, this is reports for any meetings that you went to for the month of February.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I thought it was comments.
Oh, we're getting there,
I don't have
almost.
any,
Okay, just a second, I'll get your comments on that, what you were just saying. Okay, so, I don't know, Randy, I didn't bring my stuff with me, so I
I
don't
didn't,
have it.
but I can go from memory on most of this.
Okay.
February 13th, DVBA General Membership Luncheon was the presentation by the the Sunline. Pretty good presentation. I was impressed by the buses, the presentation, the facilities. Something caught my ear though, and I'm going by memory here, but I remember most of this. They had given about 4 million rides last year, about an average income of $1 a ride, so they brought in about $4 million, but they have a $40 million budget. So 36 million of that is subsidized by the state, county, somebody, to run the Sunline. Not that that was a huge deficit to justify, but they do somehow. Urban Water Institute, I'll let you guys report on the meeting itself. I want to talk about the board meeting, primarily the financials. So if I may, I'll bring in my notes next month, go over that, their budget, because that's pretty important right there. Last one is the Aqua DC conference. Arden, Nancy, and I flew back to DC, met with a lot of the usual people, Army Corps of Engineers, several of the senators, but we had a different approach this time. Instead of just presenting our case and saying thank you for past performance, which we did, we also said, can you do us a favor, call Army Corps of Engineers in LA and find out what the holdup was for the last couple of years, why funds haven't been released, and we got a commitment for a phone call or an email from every office we went to, including the Army Corps of Engineer office, their main headquarters in DC. They're all going to contact the LA office and find out what happened, how did we get dropped for 2 years with no funding. And I think that part of it right there was worth a trip in itself, just get those phone calls and emails. DWA, CBWD board meetings, they've both been real short lately, and just open, a couple of agenda items and closed again, so nothing to report on those, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. District Council comments.
Nothing today. We will have a closed session, and that will be...
Yeah, come up to the microphone, please. Thanks.
Yes, we will have a closed session today, and that's going to be on the Mission Springs Water District versus Desert Water Agency. It's item A on the closed session agenda, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. One case number is listed, and that's Mission Springs versus DWA. So we will have a closed session on that.
Okay, thank you. General Manager's comments?
Just one. I want to thank my staff. They've really gotten together. But also I want to thank all of you. You've all provided some great input. I got good input from Director Grasha. And we're implementing, I think, anything that we can. And they were all good comments. And I want to thank you all for working together to help us create a response action plan for this coronavirus, COVID-19. Thank you.
And thank you for you and your staff for working fast on this issue and coming to a conclusion on how we could have this meeting today and be safe. And I guess we're going to look at the future now and try to figure out wait and see what's happening with that, and we'll just have to play it by ear, but we'll stay in compliance, whatever it takes.
This is new to all of us.
Yes.
And we're
Yeah.
searching and working our way through it and trying to be very compliant. And we should be able to get on top of this thing.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Director Crawshaw, now you can do your comments.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to thank the staff. I know they're probably feeling all kinds of emotions right now, trying to figure out what to do here. But everything you're doing that's coming out and what I'm saying publicly has been particularly good, especially today. I see we're catching up nicely. I'd like to point out that we are in a real critical situation. I was on a conference call this morning on the East Coast, and just this minute got word back that 3 of our firefighters here locally have been in contact with a patient that was feeling ill in her car, and turns out she had the virus, and they are all in the hospital now. The 3 firefighters are in quarantine. Their tests are due back tonight. So you're going to be running across these situations out there. Just try to stay safe, and we're just in the first minute of a long and painful process for our country and locally. We are a hotspot in the Coachella Valley. We have 14 confirmed cases right here, right now. So I know it sounds silly for people that are so used to just getting over the flu, but this is something different, and I hope all of you can catch up when you get home, do the studying that you can, and get familiar with the situation so that you can protect yourselves and the people that you work with. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. One thing, it seems like Grace and John are on top of it, but CSDA sent out there having a webinar about Brown Act compliance during a pandemic, and that's this Wednesday, 1 to 2 o'clock. Just to note, and then just also thank you to staff. I know this week's been a little hectic, but I appreciate all your work.
Russ?
Yeah, I wanted to just, something I forgot to bring up when Victoria was speaking, and this doesn't necessarily for staff, but for the general public at large, is I was always told for many years that the handling of currency, cash, was a transmitter of germs, etc. And I've heard no mention of that anywhere. Anybody's ever published anything about the handling of currency. So what I would recommend, if to the public and to staff here, is if possible, that you use an ATM card in all your purchases. It's a lot easier to sanitize an ATM card than it is a $20 bill. So just a thought. That's what I'm going to do from now on, is until further notice, is use my ATM card for most of my purchases, unless I have the exact change. So anyway, that's it.
Good point, Russ.
That's the advantage I have of being poor. I have no money to handle.
I don't own an ATM card. I've got a credit card.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, okay, Randy?
You should ride a horse to the board meeting too? Oh.
Yeah.
I don't have a flip phone, like some people.
Low blow.
All right. Before I read this, unfortunately, I'm going to read this again. I want to remind everybody, what one board member does reflects on the other. I'm going to pick on Ivan for a minute because he just happened to be sitting here. If Ivan goes out and gets a DUI, it looks bad on the whole board. It also looks bad on staff, management, the attorney, and uphill too. If our staff gets in trouble, it reflects on the board. We reflect off each other.
You talking about Costello?
No. But unfortunately, I have to read this again. This is for the record, Dory. This past Monday, March 9th, Steve Grosha posted on Facebook his intent to run against Manny Perez for county supervisor. During the thread of conversation, a gentleman told Steve, simply, fix the water, to which Steve replied, the agency is too corrupt to be fixed and needs to be disbanded enrolled into the Desert Water Agency. That will be my recommendation to the public. Normally I comment on these things at this point. I'm not going to today because I included this in my defamation of character lawsuit, which will be heard tomorrow afternoon, Palm Springs Municipal Court. Secondly, I apologize for the upcoming language, especially to the ladies, but I really want everybody to get a true picture of who's representing us. After several pages of comments on that post, Dana Reed, a council member from Indian Wells, commented on the conversation by simply saying, "That loud noise you hear are cheers from Supervisor Perez's office." To which Garza replied, and again, apologize here, "You're one of the morons I want to make sure never gets close to the ribbons of power in this country. You are the most corrupt motherfuckers that ever walked the face of the earth." Didn't say face, I'm sorry, ever walked the earth. And that comment was made to an Indian Wells council member who has no service with us and has no jurisdiction over us. He simply commented to the Facebook post. That entire conversation also caught the attention of Manny Perez, the current board supervisor for the county, who contacted Victoria asking about that conversation, and I'm sure wanted to know what the heck is going on here at the district. Again, what one of us do reflects on us all. Both of those comments made by Grusher are out of line and completely unacceptable. I would like to recommend to this board that we consult with our attorney to find some way to sanction Grusher for these despicable words and actions. This has gone on too long. We cannot leave this the way it's going. And those conclude my comments.
Thank you, Randy.
I'm not going to comment on that, but I do want to just add on to what Director Sewell mentioned earlier about staying abreast of what's going on with the COVID-19 situation. Grace Garner has been tracking federal, state, and then local orders and advisories as they've come down. Today at 4 o'clock she's attending a briefing with the White House, so she's keeping on track of that so that we can keep you and our other public agency clients advised of what we need to be doing.
And by email too? You know, advises if something comes up, let us know by email.
Absolutely. We
Okay.
send it out as soon as we get it.
Great, okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, so.
Well, we send it to the general manager and then
What is
go
that?
forward.
And then, of course, Arden will send it to us, of course.
Of course.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna go in closed session at this point in time. So I guess everybody who needs.
I'm glad to know it's okay with the director that the drinking and driving is okay, but having a discussion with a director from another community is not okay.
Okay, so we're going into closed session.
Yeah, we're gonna go into closed session. We're gonna stay in this room, Steve, so you're okay
We're
with.
staying in here?
Well, yeah, you'd probably be
Oh,
better,
'cause
because
we
you
have
got
to
the
have
6
our-
feet in here.